Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3-Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Sunday, March 9th, 2025. This is episode 1818. Is Sheriff Mina playing everyone and the importance of a constitutional government? Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Looky Luck number 3, Looky Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or the Looky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. In addition, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. You can send an email to ll3.podcast at proton.me. If you want to donate, go to paypal.me or cash at /look number 3. Including if you want to follow me at Steemit at LL3-Podcast. That's the number 3 to be exact. All right. Yes, daylight savings time blues. Set your clock an hour ahead. Yeah, I done it last night, so I've just been resting, not getting stressed out. Don't have to work. I know how it is. I can relate that on a couple times, but I knew how to improvise, adapt, and conquer. And it's funny, I was listening to a video clip of Flip-Flop Rick Scott, I call him, Senator Rick Scott from Florida, talking about lock the clock, and he wants to do this whole make it all year round daylight savings time, but the states can still do their own thing. I do find that ridiculous, and even the video clip has the background of the Israeli flag. So everyone's like, hey, what the hell are you doing? It's like, absolutely. So I sent him a little message on tweet about read Federalist Papers 2 through 5, which is the dangers and powers, the dangers of foreign powers and influence, which was written by John Jay. Like, come on, folks. You know, it's like, you know, all want to sell their rear ends to AIPAC, all that AIPAC money. My goodness. And both sides, both Democrats, a lot of Democrats and Republicans are doing it. So it's nothing new under the sun. So it's not like a partisan thing. It's just damn principle, you know? Plus, George Washington warned us, too, in his farewell address about the danger of foreign powers and influences. So it's always good to know your history, folks, instead of being a bunch of beakers and jumping on that bandwagon and want to talk all the smack they want, right? Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, according to National Pulse, Trump's resort vandalized by Gaza firsters. Yeah. So I just wondered, they were busting to do that as usual. I came out yesterday, I believe. Yeah. So I was like, see, now my good grief. But sometimes you got to look at all sides on this. And I do renounce the whole things going on in Gaza, including 10-7, etc. Like I told everyone, it is part of a Club of Rome propaganda machine. So, it looks like they did a lot of vandalism. What did they do? They did a lot of paint bombs here. All right, let me see. It was in Scotland. All right, well, nothing new happened in Scotland. But, cut it out. Stop chewing. That's my dog trying to chew on something. But, you know how that goes. So, one moment. So that's what's been occurring. And, of course, they're talking about the bombshell revelation. Biden's presidency may be entirely illegitimate as auto pen scandal exposed the shadow government. That's been talked about. USA, all news pipeline, scandals, bubblegum peak resistance, and lawfare. Of course, and that's an overnight attack on Yours News. Secret Service shoots armed man near White House while Trump was in Florida. That's from Your News. And, of course, Musk accuses Soros-backed Act Blue of funding violent Tesla protests. And it says right down here, too, DHS deploys polygraph test to identify immigration raid leakers. And even down here, too, Justice Department dismisses organized crime drug task force chief. And husband of woman who fell 24 floors arrested on assault charge. And of course, everyone's talking about the J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance condemns pro-Ukraine protesters for targeting his young daughter. I say, you know what? Those skanks, those protesters, they need to enlist and go on the front line. Join Zelensky's Foreign Legion. You're so tough and bad, you put your posters over there and see how strong you really are, right? Just a bunch of beakers as usual. Oh my goodness, that's from Yours News. So even 100% fed up, New York Governor Kathy Hochul declares state of emergency. I know there's a state of emergency happening in South Carolina too. So I just want to check this out here. It came out yesterday. Vicious wildfires ripped through eastern Long Island. Oh my goodness. Let me make sure so-and-so is okay on that one. Some people maybe direct energy weapons too to do drones, right? That's possible. Suffolk County. Okay. Wow. So a lot of stuff is happening over there as well. Yeah, very strange indeed. Question everything, my friends. You've seen this everywhere. You folks be safe out there in Long Island. Let me see. Interesting here from SHTFplan.com. We can't stop them. Thousands of Ukrainian troops face encirclement in Russia's Kursk. So that just came out today. It looks like it's by Zero Hedge originally. And the fuse has been burning slowly, but Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's risky August invasion of Russia's Kursk region is about to blow up in his face in a spectacular fashion, as thousands of Ukrainian soldiers are suddenly in imminent peril of being encircled, according to open source intelligence analysts. The crisis comes as Zelensky is under increasing U.S. pressure to negotiate to end the war, and the loss of captured Russian territory promises make his already deteriorated bargaining position even weaker. Wow. So, more. I'll just do this right here, this next paragraph. According to Deep State Map.live, an interactive map of the war run by Ukrainian military bloggers, their country's forces in Kursk are nearly cleaved into two, with roughly 3/4 of Ukrainian forces in Russia almost entirely surrounded on Friday. Their last connection between the two forces was a kilometer long and under 500 meters wide at its thinnest section. When this welfare queen will ever learn. Oh man. Australia COVID deaths to use chemical restraint to hasten the death of the elderly. That's from Expose. And Zero Hedge, Europe regularly supplies Ukraine with outdated and defective weapons. And strange sounds. By the way, today is International Women's Day. That's yesterday. I don't really follow these days, so-called holidays, these days, this day, that. I don't really pay too much attention to it. That's not my thing. And Houthi ultimatum, Red Sea blockade resumes if aid not allowed in Gaza. And remix, that's from the 7th. ECHR fines Belgium for requesting bone test for suspecting overage accompanied minor. And this came out a couple of days ago, right? Yeah, Trump administration cancels $400 million in grants and contracts to Columbia over anti-Semitism. I believe that if Columbia University is a state-funded institution by the state of New York, let them take care of the tab. I'm tired of the federal government giving these grants to people. It's getting ridiculous. Okay, let me see here. This came out a little earlier today, or yesterday, from law enforcement today. Columbus, Ohio officer fired for posting department body camera videos on his YouTube channel. It looks like a lot of it's public record anyway, so hey. And of course, it happened on the 8th too. Interesting. Voters overwhelmingly approved the fire of Democrat-endorsed San Mateo sheriff. Okay, so it looks like he, San Mateo sheriff. Okay, that's in Redwood City. Yeah, so preliminary results. Yeah, that's how it goes. Well, you know how that is. Ooh, bulletproof Trump whiskey glass. Trump whiskey glass. Yep, so let me see here. X takes down network of Chinese accounts amplifying NYT attacks on Shenyang as a musical. Very beautiful too, so good folks who are running it. Let me see here. Yeah, Israel cuts electricity to Gaza, ramping up collective punishment. Act of war, but that's okay. They're our friends. If you criticize it, you're anti-Semitic. Worst fighting in Syria since the fall of the Assad regime. That's the war zone. Oh, yeah, that's just a bunch of stuff I see on Censor.news. Always check it out. Good stuff. Observe responsibly. Here, Macron just talking smack as usual. Another Rothschild butt boy, you know. Another bend over Bob. When they say, "Oh, bend over," you go, "Oh, how far, please?" "Yes, master, how far?" And that's Macron saying that. So I'm going to be talking a couple things here. And this one came from Law Enforcement Today. It's about Sheriff John W. Mina from Orange County, Florida. That's Orlando. That is Orlando area. And St. Cloud. So let's see what it says here. Exposed is Florida Sheriff Mina playing everyone, including the governor and other sheriffs. This is by Pat Droney. The sheriff John Mina saga continues. Last week, Law Enforcement Today published an article in which Mina was accused of abdicating his oath of office by refusing to assist federal immigration authorities in his jurisdiction, Orange County, which includes the city of Orlando. The article was based on information in the Gateway Pundit, which cited an internal email in which Mina said, "Any ICE immigration-related calls must be cleared through the chain of command." Sometimes you got to look at that angle, too, because he's the sheriff of that county. So you look at that. I'll continue on. After the article was published, Law Enforcement Today received an email from a member of the sheriff's office who did not want his name published. The email was sent from Orange County Sheriff's Office address. While the timing of the email was suspicious, we felt it was essential to set the record straight based on the new information. It appears we may have been played. After reposting our article with an editor's note, we received an email asking if we'd been threatened to amend the original article. Since we had not that information was relayed to the email sender. During some back and forth correspondence, he told us that he had some information that would be important for context. It appears that Mina has a split personality, one where he pretends on the one hand to be fully cooperative with ICE and other immigration agencies and officials, and the other where he instructs his deputies to clear any ICE immigration calls to the chain of command, as we wrote in our original reporting. That instruction was contained in an email sent to the agency's captain from Major Daniel Gutierrez. The latter is apparently to appease the portion of the community that supports illegal immigration. Law Enforcement Today was contacted by Bill Moore, a retired police officer familiar with Mina. Full disclosure, Moore previously ran against Mina for the position of sheriff. He related that Mina has indeed been taking both sides of the immigration issue, in part to remain in good graces of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who, as recently as March 6th, told conservative talk show host Mark Levin that every county sheriff in Florida has signed the 287G agreement, pledging to cooperate with ICE. Interesting there. Moore told us that about a February 3rd, 2025 News Channel 13 article in which Mina said in the press conference that agencies like Orange County should not get involved in immigration activities. That is the job of the federal government. I know many sheriffs share the sentiment. We are focused on violent crime now. Certainly, if there is someone here in this county illegally that is a violent criminal, I'm just like everyone else. I don't want to see them here either. That statement is a far cry from the selective email sent to law enforcement today, where he said his agency will continue to enforce all laws within our authority, including those that related to unlawful immigration. All right. In addition to that, we will continue to cooperate with state and federal partners to target criminals in our community. Now imagine you're a sheriff's deputy working in Orange County. What guidance do you follow? If you come across an illegal alien, do you wait for them to commit a violent crime before you act? Will that 1 or 2 seconds of hesitation cost you your life if you hesitate? Mina's mixed messages could have disastrous results if a deputy under the command of Mina isn't sure how to act if he or she will be thrown under the bus if they act improperly. According to another source we spoke to, a retired Orange County sheriff, that is a distinct possibility. We promised anonymity to the source who claimed the OCSO would retaliate if his or her name were revealed. Mina is a politician who, time and time again, has shown that he favors his political positions over his deputies. I don't know one person who trusts him or supports him. It's sad, the source says. He told me that due to job-related stress, many of the deputies who work under Mina have drinking problems, are on antidepressants, and even committed suicide. When you talk to them, it's majority work-related stress, not the things we do or see. It is a lack of support from the administration and how quick they are to railroad you. The morale is at an all-time low. I've never seen it so bad. It's sad what the agency has become. It went from the agency everyone wanted to work for a stepping stone for many. And many got off on screwing deputies, that's administration, over and flexing their stripes or bars. The biggest threat, if there wasn't the criminals, it was their own people, one source says. How come what the hell happened to the Orange County Sheriff's Office Deputies Union, for goodness sakes? Come on, man. Don't let these maggots walk all over you. This goes back to the mixed messages Mina is sending to his deputies is a lose-lose situation. As Moore told us, the timing of statements coming out from the OCSO indicates a reactive attempt to control the narrative, which he said is also called crisis management. Before the leak, internal policies reflected a limited engagement with immigration and enforcement. After the leak, public messaging emphasized cooperation with ICE and enforcement of all laws, likely in response to political and community pressure. Mina is attempting to appease both sides. Moore said, on one hand, reassuring immigrant communities that they are not actively seeking out undocumented individuals, while on the other hand, signaling to law and order advocates they are working with ICE when necessary. Governor DeSantis closely examined Mina to ensure he is compliant with the requirements put forth under the 287G he signed. Florida law formalizes agreements between all 67 Florida sheriffs and ICE, allowing local officers to enforce federal immigration laws. Mina refused to do his job. DeSantis should consider removing him from office. Hey, there's another thing too, folks, in Orange County. You can do a recall vote. All right? I will add that to the memo, okay, and so you can read it for yourself. And let's not forget, this is the same far-left sheriff who took a knee with protesters. As one deputy put it, the sooner his political hack joins the likes of Art Acevedo on CNN, the sooner cops can get back on doing police work, not pandering to a Democrat in the police uniform. Enough said. Interesting there, right? Yes, it is a fact. It was interesting, too, because I do remember the executive order that was done by Ron DeSantis. It was 19-14 in reference to the suspension of Scott Israel, who was the sheriff of Broward County. And based on this, Statute 30.15, Florida Statute 30.15 is the duty of elected sheriffs to be conversators of the peace in their respective counties. and pursuant to Florida Statute 3007, sheriffs appoint deputies to act under them who shall have the same power as the power appointing them, and for the neglect and default of whom in the execution of their office the sheriff shall be responsible. Bingo, right there. So that's just one area you can look at. You can look at those laws, but I will put this executive order 19-14 for this memo because it is essential to know these things. And don't forget as well, under Article 2, Section 5 of the Florida Constitution, public officers, it says here, A, no person holding any office of illuminate under any foreign government or civil office of illuminate under the United States or any other state shall hold any office of honor or emolument under the government of the state. No person shall hold at the same time more than one office under the government, state, and the counties and municipalities therein, except for Northern Republic, military officer, and all that. So I will put Section B here. And it's fine because when you look at that, on a foreign government, you got to question Ron DeSantis too, right? When you're going to Israel for a couple of times to sign those bills, Florida bills in Tel Aviv. Think about that. Yeah, can we say double speak, allegedly speaking? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll continue on here. B, each county and state officer before upon the duties of office shall give the bond as required by law and shall swear or affirm. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of the title of office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. And thereafter shall devote personal attention to the duties of the office and continue the office under a successor qualifies. Okay, so interesting there. You can look at that. And funny, I'm going to add the commandeering doctrine, what he looks like he's trying to do here, because it may be some state or federal overreach. And I know they talk about the one in Federal Papers 46, Prince versus the United States. Even the sheriffs can do that too. So Prince of the United States, 97 serves as a linchpin for the anti-commandeering doctrine at issue with the provision for the Brady gun bill that required county law enforcement to administer part of the background check program. So there's a lot of stuff in here. You can check it out for yourselves. But they use Federal Papers 46 that local and state government don't have to cooperate with the federal. So we definitely add that in there. So the truth of the matter is, because you got to look at Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution as well. So what we're seeing, a lot of people are trespassing, and a synonym for that is invasion. Right? I could be mistaken, but I do remember that. You got to look at that angle, and he can do a suspension, but the people in that county can do a recall, which I will add that to the memos so you can see it for yourselves. All right? I'm going to do one more segment after this, so hang tight. All right, I want to do one more here. This came from Mises Institute. Mises Y, The Importance of Constitutional Government. It's written by Raniero Nioya. Hopefully I pronounced that person's name correctly. In his book, The Rise and Fall of the Confederate Government, Jefferson Davis explained, Volume 2, The Southern Cause as he saw it. When the cause was lost, what cause was it? Not that the South only, but the cause of the constitutional government, of the supremacy law, of the natural rights of man. His argument was that the conduct of government must be constitutional. In his opinion, it would be unlawful for a government to argue that prevailing circumstances made it necessary to ignore or override the Constitution, as that would be a violation of what he called the supreme law of the land. An attempt to uphold the supreme law of the land by unlawful means would be inherently contradictory. The importance of the constitutional government is a lesson worth revisiting in time when there are new debates on the constitutionality of government action. Davis highlighted an important point that the Constitution does not contain an escape clause by means of which it can be set aside when the government deems it necessary to do so. He referred to this as a plea of necessity. Therefore, says the plea of necessity, a new power is today found under the Constitution of the United States. That is, the powers of the Constitution of the United States are enlarged or contracted according to the circumstances. Davis insisted that this approach of the Constitution would lead inexorably to conflict. Mankind cannot be surprised at seeing a government administered on such interpretation of power blunder into a civil war and approach of the throes of disillusion. In his view, there could be no secure foundation for peaceful resolution or disputes if the very foundation of lawful settlement of disagreement could so readily be set aside as the government's whim. Davis highlighted the South's loyalty and devotion to the Union before this dispute arose, reminding his readers that many Confederate soldiers had fought for the United States in previous wars. Davis wrote that the people of the seceded states had loved the Union, shoulder to shoulder with the people of the other states. They bled for its liberties and its honor. But he saw the Constitution as essential to a voluntary union, being itself the agreement on the basis of which the Union was formed, and breach of this compact as justification from withdrawing from it. As Donald Livingston explains, the voluntary nature of the Union was central to the Southern understanding the Constitution. Southerners were loyal to the Constitution of the Founders, where they objected to what was the Northern interpretation of which sought, by an act of philosophical alchemy, to transmute it from a compact between southern sovereign states, creating a central government with enumerated powers, to a consolidated nationalism with a central government having unlimited powers. Therefore, as Davis saw it, if the government could simply set aside the Constitution when it deemed this necessary, that itself would justify secession, as it would amount to a declaration that the agreement was no longer to be regarded as binding, as he explained it. If the necessity which the U.S. government pleaded, was an argument to justify their violations of all the provisions of the Constitution, the existence of such a necessity on their part was a sufficient argument to justify our withdrawal from the Union with them. If the preservation of the existence of the Union by coercion of the states was an argument to justify these violent usurpations by the United States government, it will still more force be an argument to justify our separation and resistance to invasion. For we were struggling for our natural rights, but the government of the United States has no natural rights. By natural rights, Davis meant the right of life, liberty, and property, which were violated by the government in raging war on the seceding states. Davis' reference to natural rights of man did not denote rights derived from theories or ideologies, but rights protected by the Constitution. He emphasized the constitutional principle that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. His point being that the law at the time treated slaves as property. This was the reason why Abraham Lincoln said, "I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists. I believe I have no unlawful right to do so, and I have no inclination to do so." Lincoln was simply expressing his personal disinclination to end slavery, but a reflecting view of the Constitution was widely held at the time. And as I remember, in his first inaugural address, Abraham Lincoln talked about that as the state's decision. Please look it up for yourselves under Library of Congress. The constitutional recognition of the institution of slavery explains why Davis wrote extensively about unconstitutional interference with slavery. Slavery being lawful at the time and an institution protected at the time by the U.S. Constitution, Davis argued that the fact that the 13th Amendment was passed to abolish slavery only emphasized that slavery was previously deemed to be constitutionally protected. Why else would the Constitution need to be amended to abolish it? This amendment was not depicted at the time as an amendment to clarify that slavery was already illegal, but an amendment to abolish an institution that had previously been lawful. In their eagerness to confront themselves by forgetting that slavery was ever lawful, many historians now pretend that the constitutionality of slavery was just a myth dreamed up by Davis. Such historians replace uncomfortable historical facts with their own regretful thoughts and sentiments. Davis was also concerned about Lincoln's indiscriminate war upon all, including civilians, women, and children, with the burning of homes and plantations, the destruction of property, arguing that such methods could not be justified as a method of enforcing the law. In his view, the Constitution was a binding agreement to be upheld in all circumstances. The commands of the Constitution are positive, direct, unchanged, and unrelaxed by circumstances. They are equally forced in the state of war and in a state of peace. He asked, were these the appropriate means by which to execute the laws? And in suppressing rioters to secure tranquility and preserving voluntary union? Was this government resting on the consent of the governed? This was an important question because until Lincoln's war, consent of the governed had been treated as a foundational constitutional principle. Davis maintained that the U.S. government has erred by embarking on a course in which all constitutional protections were to be withdrawn and the powers of a common government created for the common and equal protection to the interest of all were all to be arrayed for the destruction of the Southern institutions. The supremacy of law and context in which Davis is writing does not mean that the law should be savagely followed no matter how evil it is. It means rather that the Constitution ought not to be set aside when it deemed convenient to do so. That defeats the entire point of having a Constitution in the first place. A constitutional amendment to abolish slavery, not a war against the South, would have been a lawful approach. In the alternative, as Horace Greeley attempted to advise Lincoln, the South should have been allowed to depart in peace. Davis wearily observed that if slavery had genuinely been the sole issue in dispute between the states, as later alleged by the U.S. Congress, then allowing the South to secede would surely have immediately resolved the problem. In Secession Tradition in America, Donald W. Livingston also points out that the right up to the firing on Fort Sumter, many abolitionists in the North, having long argued for Northern secession, were prepared to allow the South peacefully to secede. Murray Rothbard also observed that it was a popular view at the time. Outside of New England and territories populated by transplanted New Englanders, the idea of forcing the South to stay in the Union was highly unpopular. In many middle-tier states, including Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, there was a considerable sentiment to mimic the South by forming a middle confederacy to isolate the pesky and fanatical Yankees. Even after the war began, the mayor of New York City and many other dignitaries of the city proposed that the city secede from the Union and make peace and engage in free trade in the South. Indeed, Jefferson Davis's lawyer after the war was what we would now call paleo-libertarian leader of the New York City bar, Irish Catholic Charles O'Connor, who ran for president in 1878 on the straight Democrat ticket in protest that his beloved Democratic Party's nominee for president was the abolitionist, protectionist, socialist, and fool, Horace Greeley. Interesting. Yeah, that's what I tell people. You should always look at all sides the best you can. Do your homework. Doesn't matter what you think. Because the fact is, they just give us the basic rundown. The victors write the history books. And it's interesting because I remember reading the Declaration of Independence. Talked about this. I got my little booklet right here. You can look it up. So it's just very intriguing when you got a lot of folks out there don't really know these things. But one of the main objectives of the Declaration of Independence says right here, hold on. Yeah, right here. But the government is becoming usurped. We have the right to start a new form of government. That's important. So, the main objective here, my friends, as Americans, our duty is never trust the government regardless who's in there. That's what happened during this time with the war between the states before it all happened. And it's a real shame. And to me, the Central Confederacy was in the works too. So always get to know all these things. So, like I say, look up Declaration of Independence. You'll check it out. It's very good stuff. If you don't learn from the past, my friends, we'll be damned to repeat it. That's my intake on this. I'd love to hear from you. It'd be great. And that is all. And by the way, the person who wrote this was a black woman. Like from Africa, yeah. Oh, she's a Walter Williams Research Fellow. Hey, Walter Williams is very cool, man. So it'll be forever free. I love this content. All right, that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this right your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, etc., whatever you do, please use decorum. You can hit the email to ll3-podcast@proton.me. I'll leave the footnotes for this episode so you can read for yourselves. If you want to donate, go to paypal.me or cash.app/local3. You can follow me at Steemit. The whole, cryptocurrency is at LL3. That's the number 3 -podcast. You follow me at, just type it in. You can find me everywhere. Gab, Minds, MeWe, and Parler, Truth Social. So me social, all those good stuff. So I'll be here all day long. Including Podbeam, all right? Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.